but it's sort of wherever you are at the moment. So make your time at Richmond.
An opportunity to increase your strengths.
Okay, so this whole process is about maintaining that victorious cycle, which you're already on, and all that's already happened, but you're not quite sure how come the good things are happening. And this will help, you see, because if we don't know why something's happening, we can't choose it to happen. Right? Now, we did have a look at this page last time, didn't we? Do you remember we looked at this page? Yeah? Do you remember anything about this page? Well, this is the recovery map. This is called the 5-part model. All right? Have you heard of the 5-part model? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember the
thoughts, feelings, body sensations and actions, how my body felt, and the situation that came before. So this is what we're going to be working with as we try to work out the patterns, because this helps us work out the pattern of what's happened. And if we open all that up when we've worked it out, we get like a chain reaction. So we're trying to work out what the chain reactions are that led to that coercion or that forcing you to come into hospital. How come that happened, and how to hopefully avoid that ever happening again, because you'll understand.
I don't want to go to hospital again.
No, and so this is all about trying to, so that you can understand what you need and what your family needs to help you for that not to happen. Okay, so can you see how that could fit? So that's the things that make you vulnerable, the things that trigger the upsetting things, the sequence that leads to the risks, and then the consequences of how that is reacted to. Yeah, so that's all what you've just read about. So that's just getting that sort of framework in will help you to understand how to make things work better. Yeah, if you've got questions, feel free to ask. And usually when I'm meeting with people, they've usually been able to come to my groups, and we would have talked a lot more about this, but because you're not able to come to the groups, you know, we may have to focus on this a few more each time we do it. We might just have to remind ourselves. Is that all right to do that? Yeah.
I think I'd be a bit shy to go to a group.
Would you? No, and that's fine. I mean, that's why we're meeting together. And you may find that changes too now that you're at Richmond. How many people are at Richmond?
There's 3 other girls.
3 other girls. Okay, so that's a nice small group. And sometimes you can have a small group. I mean, a group could be 2 people. So, and that can be...
It's a very small group.
Yeah, and that could be a good sort of group for some people. I quite often have little groups like that. It's always good to know that you're not the only one who's feeling like this, you know, because sometimes we feel we're the only one, and that's really hard. But when we're in a group, we find that actually there's lots of us. And of course, as you remember, or you may remember, I've been through this sort of thing myself. And I think I told you about the story in the Gift of Stories book, which you're welcome to have a copy of, as we said last time. So that's here if we want to make a photocopy. All right. So now we're back on this page, which we did fill in a little bit last time. This is about what you might have to gain by doing this whole process. And you did start to think about some of the things. And I'm just wondering if anything else has come up for you. You've got a pen, haven't you? So this is writing down 3 or 4 things that you might gain by doing this, understanding these patterns, and 3 or 4 things you might lose by not understanding them as well. All right? And you did say one of the things that you would be doing if you found it as useful as you would be ringing your mum. And I remember at the end of the last session you said you thought you would ring your mum. And you've just said you've rung your mum this week too.
Well, my mum rang me.
Oh, your mum rang you, yeah. How does she feel things are going for you?
Okay.
Okay, so she's happy with the way things are going. Yeah.
So she wants me home.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So there'll be, I mean, what we'll come on to in a little bit is, you know, what does she want to be happening for you to be able to come home? Do you know that? Do you know what she wants? Or what your care team wants, or your doctors want?
I don't know.
You're not quite sure. So that's something that might be good to find out about. because that might be part of that thing about being at your best.
Mm.
And when you know what those things are, you know what you're aiming at. So that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, good to know that. So is there anything else on here that you might like to put? And of course, I'll just remind us again that it says these were some examples of the things that other young people have said, and when we've been doing this work together, they might find out and know there are a few different ways of going about things. And one person said it did bring up some of the hurt. Sometimes things may get a bit worse before they get better. I think we might have covered that last time. But sometimes when we talk about the upsetting things, like when you were forced to go to hospital, it can be upsetting. And yet actually sort of sitting with that and learning how to manage that distress, even in the room with me, could be part of that journey of recovery and getting the strength to get through it. All right, so it's just important for us to be aware of that. Is it bringing any of those feelings up even as we talk at the moment?
Yeah, I don't like thinking about when I went to hospital.
No. So I can see that you look a little bit sad or upset about that, and that's not surprising. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to put on here about what you might gain? You've put go home and not come back to hospital, understand my life, get a job. Any other thing you?
I'd like to have a boyfriend.
A boyfriend. Okay, do you want to put that on there, because you did put that in the. Is that the same? Ring your mum and tell her how it's been. Been useful. Yeah. Let's hope that that's the outcome for today. So, would you like to continue working with this page today about when you're at your best? You've got a whole lot of actions that you'd like that you will be doing. Getting married and having 2 children, you've said. Living in Fongaray, close to family. So that's where your mum is, having a car. Learning to drive, being a singer, doing romantic things, going to New Zealand Idol. We talked about that, didn't we? Have you been doing any singing? You have? Not much. Sleeping well, spending time with family, exercising, hip-hop dancing, being more talkative, eating healthily, smiling, being more social. Doing a lot of smiling now, which is lovely. You've got a lovely smile. So shall we look at things you might be thinking when you're at your best? And I've got some cards here, but before I go to the cards, can you think of the sort of things that you'd be thinking, or even might be thinking currently, now that you're more at your best? What are the sort of things you find that you're thinking about?
I'm happy.
I'm happy, yep. So you're thinking you're happy and you're feeling happy. Those are 2 different things, aren't they? So you can write I'm happy, and you can write feeling happy. Do you see what I mean? In 2 places.
Oh, it's supposed to go down here.
Well, happy's a feeling, yes.
Okay.
But you could also be thinking I'm happy. You see what I mean? It's a thought and a feeling.
Probably better down here.
But, okay. So you're feeling a little bit more happy than you were. Any other sort of thoughts that you find that you're having or would be having when you're at your best?
I don't know.
You know? Shall we look at the cards? There's a whole lot of things in there that you might like to sort of have a quick look through and pick the most, the ones that feel most relevant to you. Is this your pile that you're keeping, or is this the pile you're keeping?
This one.
Okay. It's quite useful for me to see the ones you're not keeping too. I'll just have a look through. Okay, so those are the ones you choose. Now, do you want to read them out and write them down?
All will be well.
All will be well, okay.
I'll write on here.
Yes, if you write it in the thinking box or whatever you call it. All will be well.
I'm okay.
I can get through this. Well, yes, but there's a different sort of aspect to that too. I think it's good to have both. I can get through this. Because it's like knowing you can get through something, even if it feels hard at the moment.
I have faith.
I have faith. Do you have a actual faith, or like a religious faith, or what?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of? Do you have like a spiritual practice of any sort? Or belong to a...
No, not really.
No, but it's a sort of personal faith
Yeah.
thing. Okay. Those are great words. Okay. Brilliant. And now we'll go to the feeling words, and you've got happy. Are there any other words you want to put in there that you can think of? And if not, there's a whole big...
I guess loving. I'll be loving my mum.
Loving, yep. Yep. Do you want to look at these ones? There's a whole range of things here, which is sort of some of the feelings, and some of them are sort of mixes of feelings and actions and thoughts. But this is just the set that the young people created, so you might be able to pick a few. Well done. How does it feel writing all those?
That's okay.
Okay. Do you think you're getting there to those things at the moment?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah. Okay. So the last one that we've got on here is my body felt, okay? So that's the orange cards here. Can you name any sensations in your body when you're feeling good, when you're feeling at your best? That's often quite hard to notice. Often quite hard to... No?
Yeah, I don't know.
Any at all?
I don't know.
Don't know. Do you want to have a look through here and see if there's anything in there that you can relate to?
Yeah, calm. I've already got that.
You have.
I've got that there. Should I write it here too?
Yes, I think so, because calmness is a feeling you have in your body, and it's also a sort of feeling, isn't it? And sometimes it's because your body feels calm that you feel calm. It's good to notice that.
I've got a good appetite, but I don't really want a good appetite.
Oh, okay. Is your appetite a bit too good at the moment? Yes. Oh, okay. All right, but not hungry is really important, isn't it? Not to feel hungry. Okay, well done. You've done really well. You've sort of completed that page for now. Yeah. So we'll come back to that sort of, another time. But that's a really good sort of. It's like a self-portrait of yourself at your best. Yeah, well done. Annabelle. So shall we move on to the next page?
Okay.
And just see what's on it. We may get through a few pages today. So that's, that looks like a really good list of things. Oops. Now this page is about the positive effects of medication, okay? Now do you know what medication you're on?
Olanzapine.
Olanzapine? Okay. Do you want to write that on here? Right, that's
Where
probably
do I
why-
write it? Up
just
here?
on here, yeah. That's probably why you've got a big appetite at the moment, isn't it? So,
Not so fat.
so olanzapine is... do you know the dose you're on?
20.
20. You want to write down 20? And this is about the positive effects on the victorious cycle. And I hear you saying that you've put on a bit of weight with the olanzapine, which is probably a not so good effect, and we'll come on to that another time. And I'm not minimising how that feels, because of course that's one of the downsides of the medication. But is there anything that you find that is helping with medication? Anything about it that is useful?
I think it helps my voices.
Okay, helps your voices. Does it help them become less, or help them less upsetting, or
Oh, it helps them become less.
less voices? So I guess that's a thinking thing, isn't it? So you can write less voices in there. So that's helping your mind be clear, I suppose, is it? Is that part of that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good thing. So would it be good to write that too? Does it help your mind be a bit more clear? Yeah. Because you wrote that in the other one, didn't you? Anything else you notice with the medication that's helpful?
It helps me sleep at night.
Helps you sleep. Okay, that's a doing thing, and that's often really helpful with sleeping, isn't it? So important. Any other thing? No, not in the feelings one. Does it help you with your feelings at all?
I don't know.
Not sure. Okay, that's all right. Sometimes it's quite hard to know what helps what, but you're clear that it helps with making the voices less, and it helps with sleep, which are really important. Okay, well that's okay. If that's what if that's what you feel is, you don't need to write any more than that. Okay, so should we go on to the next page?
Okay.
Okay. Now the next page is ways of getting support and things that help. Now this is largely action things. There's also will be some sort of thinking things too. So this is when what we're thinking about on this page is when you've been in a situation which has been upsetting, or even thinking of before you came into hospital, when you were forced to come into hospital. I'm making an assumption you didn't have the support that perhaps might have helped if you could have had that support. So it's about things that have helped in the past or things that might help. All right. So anything that could help, that will just help in an upsetting situation to help you feel more calm, more peaceful, more settled, that kind of thing. And I've got a set of cards to help with that as well. But before we go to the cards, is there anything you can think of that you can do or someone else can do that helps?
Phone my mum.
Phone your mum. Okay. So phoning your mum and talking to your mum always helps. Do you tell her what's happening when you phone her, or what is it? Can you talk to her? You can talk about what's happening. So it's the phoning her and the talking to her, isn't it? And telling her what's happening. So do you want to write that down too? Because sometimes it can be just sort of saying hello to someone that can help, or sometimes it can be actually telling the person, or sometimes it's not about telling the person. So it's good to get really clear about what works. So you always tell your mum what's happening. Good. That's amazing. Anything else?
Going to bed with my earphones and listening to music.
Oh yes, that's really clear. Do you want to write that down? And have you got earphones and things? Have you got music in Richmond? Yeah. What sort of music do you like?
All sorts.
All sorts. And you've got a range of music, have you? Good. Anything else? That you can think of? Okay. Do you want to have a look at this? There's a few things in here that are specific to the hospital where I work, but you can sort of relate it to where you are.
I don't have any magazines.
Would you like some magazines?
I don't know.
You're not sure? Okay. So I think sometimes magazines are quite nice because they're easy to look at pictures and interest, and you don't have to concentrate too hard. Yeah. Different from a book.
Having a hug.
Mm-hmm. Is that from anyone in particular?
From my mum.
From your mum? Is there anyone else you can give a hug that feels good?
Oh, my auntie in Auckland.
Okay, so maybe...
Sometimes my support worker.
Okay, it's good to be clear about that too. So.
Spend time in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing on that one.
Those are just for anything else you can think of. They're just to remind us that there are alternatives. Oh, there's some more here. You've got...
Listening to music.
Yeah, you've got that one already, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Watching TV can be good.
Are there particular things you like to
Like
watch?
the music channel.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talking to staff.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to other clients.
All right. Have you got you made some friends in the place where you are?
They're all my friends.
What's it?
They're all my
all your
friends.
friends, so you can talk to them a bit. Okay.
Talking to a friend. I'm talking to my mum. I've already got that.
Okay. So do you want to write those things down? So you don't find exercise helpful.
Oh, I used to like gardening with my auntie.
Oh, okay. Well, write that down because that's
Partner.
important. Exercise is often a very useful thing. Is it something you haven't done? You're not
No,
really
they're talking about making a garden at Richmond, but they haven't actually done it.
Okay. Oh, that sounds an important thing to maybe talk with your key worker about.
Well, she's my auntie's partner. Used to do a garden in
Okay.
Tauranga.
Okay.
And we grew a lot. We had a big garden.
Mm-hmm. But you don't like walking or...
That's all right.
Mm-hmm. You don't find it helps to settle you?
No, not really.
Not really? Okay. Good. So if you were feeling distressed or upset or angry or any of those things, and you did one of those or some of those things, how would that help you? How would it help you to feel?
Might help me feel a bit better.
A bit better? Yeah. That's the point. So do you want to just say, feel a bit better? And when you feel a bit better, what happens in your body?
Feel more relaxed.
More relaxed. That's important, isn't it? Yeah. So noticing when you feel more relaxed is important. And any thoughts that might then come as you feel better?
Maybe it's not so bad.
It's not so bad. Yeah, that's good. It's not so bad. I know that a thought that came to me one day, or someone said actually, or I read it in a book, and then I heard someone else say it was, "This too will pass," which is a really good one to remember, because it sometimes can feel like it's never going to get better.
Should I write that down?
If you want to, you can. Okay, well that's another page down. Is there anything else you want to add to that page? No? But it feels like an okay sort of set of things that you could possibly do. Awesome. There's a few things in here about crisis teams and medication and that kind of thing, but obviously they're not things that are helpful for you. No. Okay, that's all good. Do you think it's been useful to go to Richmond?
I'd rather be in Whangarei with my mum.
Yeah.
But they said I have to go there.
Yes, yes. Do you think, but it's nicer than being in CFU?
Oh, it's nicer than being in hospital.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So getting to, what is it about it?
Well, it's like you're in the community, you're in the house.
Yes.
You sort of have friends.
Yes.
We can cook.
Yes.
You have to do the dishes and things, but
Yes.
yeah, it's...
Yeah. So being in a more hopefully community place, did you ever get an opportunity for respite care when you weren't well? When things were...
When I was in Tauranga.
Yeah. And was that useful, respite? More than hospital, or was that...
I just wanted to be at home, really.
Yeah. So nothing felt really better than home?
No.
Or nothing felt sort of good enough because...
I'd still like to be in Whangarei, but yeah, they won't let me.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we'll come on to talking about why that is, and maybe next time. I'm not sure. We'll see how far we get. today with that, because that's obviously a really important issue that they won't let you. Well, shall we move on to the next page? We wouldn't usually do so many pages, but I think because we don't get to see each other often, we'll keep on going. Now this page is, can you see what this page is about? This is about
early
warning signs. So we just read about mapping the early warning signs, didn't we? And this page is about what we're looking for when we're mapping early warning signs is changes in thoughts and feelings and body sensations and actions. So when things start to change, because there's been a trigger or something happened that's setting that chain reaction in motion. Right? So these pictures are the same as the pictures on the other page, aren't they? They're the same as the chain reaction and the 5-part model. But it's looking at the actual changes and the things that make us vulnerable to those changes. Okay? So the next page that we'll work on, which we've got time to work on today, is thinking about those triggers and prompting things and things that make you vulnerable to setting off that chain reaction. Right? So you might know a little bit about that, or you may not know much about what it is that sets that in, that got things going or made things very upsetting for you in the first place. So, and again, I've got a set of cards to help you to be able to get a bit more clear about what those things are. Before we start that, is there anything that you can think of that you know has made you vulnerable in the past, or sort of set that chain in motion that led you into hospital?
Well, I don't know. When my mum was drinking, and that's why I went to Tauranga.
I see. So it's your mum, because your mum was drinking and things were unsettled at home. That you went to Tauranga.
But my mum stopped drinking now, she's told me.
Okay, yes. So she's trying to get in her own recovery cycle. Yeah. And sometimes mothers and other family members can find this process quite useful themselves. We sometimes do family evenings where we teach this, so that could be quite good sometimes, wouldn't it? So your mum's on that journey, which is good to hear. Okay, well, do you want to write something down about that? Well, how would you phrase that? As a thing so mum drinking was a trigger for you. Was it her drinking, or did something happen that made them want you to go to Tauranga? Or did you yourself want to go to Tauranga? Do you want to tell me a little bit about it?
I didn't really want to go, but I guess I was missing school and getting into trouble and things. So.
I see, yes. So did SIFs move you to Tauranga? Did the youth?
Yeah.
Yes, services move you to Tauranga. So that's a hard thing. That was a forced thing too. Yeah. So.
Well, Mum agreed.
Yes, but it wasn't nice for you.
I still would have liked to have stayed with my mum.
Yeah, even though she was drinking.
Yeah, well, she wasn't drinking so much, but I do really miss her.
Yeah, so missing your mum might also be part of what is upsetting for you. Yeah. So do you want to write missing mum, being separated from mum? Anything else that you can think of, or would you like to look at these cards?
Should I write mum drinking?
Mum drinking? Yeah, that sounds like it was an important thing, even though you said you managed it all right. Yeah, mum drinking. What about you? Did you ever have anything to drink or any drugs or anything like that?
Yes, sometimes.
Do you think that was part of it too?
I don't know.
Don't know. Do you want to put it with a question mark? Me drinking, using drugs and alcohol? So it's a possible thing, because I mean, it can be a bit unsettling. Yeah. Would you like to have a look through this list, this set of cards? They're not in any particular order.
I don't like yelling.
Yelling? So was there yelling happening in the house? Yeah. So yelling was a thing that was going on in the house. You're obviously not picking that, being forced to do something, but you've said that being forced to go to hospital was...
Yeah, I was forced to go to hospital, yeah.
So being forced was an upsetting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that can all be, like you were saying at the beginning, it can all be part of what makes that vicious cycle happen. Because you've already been in a situation of things happening that you didn't want to have happen.
Well, my nana died too.
Oh, did she? Was that at the same sort of time?
That was last year.
Okay. So your nana dying, was that part of what happened? Well, that's a really important thing. It must have affected you. Was that your mum's mother? So that must have affected your mother too.
I hate having someone checking up on me all the time.
Okay, well, that's important to put in there too. Because often these things happen in hospital and you don't get a chance to talk about it. Did that happen a lot in CFU?
No, and at Richmond.
Did it? Okay. So again, sort of understanding why that's happening and seeing if there's a way to manage it.
I hate having no cigarettes.
Okay. How much do you smoke?
Oh, as much as I can.
Do you? Okay. That must be difficult to do with money and everything. Now, do you see these ones? They're all slightly different, and so notice you. So this is about being in a situation that reminds you of things that have been upsetting in the past, and this specific thing is hearing a song. No, never been. Now, you did mention that you don't like talking about what things brought you into hospital, so
it's talking about hospital.
Yeah, I mean, just need to be aware of that, because, I mean, although we are talking about it, it is obviously something that's upsetting. This one is anniversary times, no?
Well, it's the same about talking about hospital, you mean?
Yes, it is.
Do I write that down again? I already wrote down
well,
about talking about going to hospital.
It's slightly different, actually, Annabelle, because episodes are times when things have changed. You know, the changes in your thinking, the hearing voices, or the things that happen because of hearing voices. So that can be happening even without going to hospital. And is it upsetting to talk about those things, about the voices, and what the voices were saying, and what happened with that?
I don't really like talking about voices either.
No. So talking about past episodes is quite a trigger.
Okay, so I'll put talking about voices.
Yeah. It's important for me to know about that. That's upsetting for you too. Not sleeping? No? So in an
I'm
issue?
sleeping all right.
But in the past, we're talking about the things before, in the past, when things became unsettled.
No, I wasn't sleeping.
You weren't sleeping, so not sleeping is an important one to notice. And there'll be reasons why you weren't sleeping, which... Do you know why you weren't sleeping? Do you know what was happening?
I was just staying up.
You're staying up?
I wasn't tired.
You weren't tired, okay, yeah.
Having an argument. I don't like arguments.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to... You can feel free to write it in here too, so...
Okay.
And were there lots of arguments happening?
We're in Whangarei.
Where your mum lives? Negative voices. So have you ever come off medication?
Yeah.
So you were on it and off it. What happened when that happened? Things become
They
unsettled.
made me go back to hospital.
So things became unsettled again.
Mm.
So maybe that's an important one to write down. Did you stop it yourself, or did the doctor stop it?
I stopped it.
Okay. So it is important to put it down there. Coming off medication.
And called names.
Being called names. Has that happened? When did that happen?
Because my voices called me names.
Okay. And were you bullied when you were at school, when you were little? You were, okay. So that's an important thing to know, isn't it? That you had children, other children, saying nasty things to you when you were small. So that is one of the things that made you vulnerable as well. So maybe put in brackets being bullied at school. Did you ever have a chance to talk to anyone about being bullied?
I mean, I told people about it.
But it wasn't dealt with, no one helped.
Well, it doesn't make any difference, really.
So it's a very hard thing to have happen when you're little and when you're bullied. And there is some evidence that when children are bullied, they're more likely to hear voices later in life. So that's an important thing to be aware of. Did you know that? Anyone told you that? No. How are you doing?
Okay.
You're right. We've done well here. You've got an important list of things, haven't you? Okay. Do you want to keep going or take a break, or how would
I'm
you?
okay.
You're okay. Shall we keep going to the next page? You're doing really, really well. So the next page is early warning signs.
My early warning signs, vicious cycle.
Yeah. So this is like, we're thinking back to before you came into hospital, before things really got unsettled, what the very, very early signs of things changing. Do you remember we looked at the 5-part model and the changes, and we're just starting to think about the things that change if you can look back at them, because that's how we turn a crisis into an opportunity. If we can see that sequence, that chain reaction, and then you can have more knowledge of how one thing leads to another when you've been triggered or when you've been vulnerable with all those things that happen to you. Your mum drinking and there being shouting and arguments and bullying and then voices coming in, not sleeping, all those things. And then other things will have happened, all right? So just getting a bit more clear about that. So when you think about it, I've got cards to help that too, but when you think about it, just before we look at the cards, can you remember the sequence that happened?
I wasn't sleeping and I was drinking and I had voices.
Okay, so you weren't sleeping, so not sleeping is probably one of the earliest things. And you were drinking alcohol, were you? So the drinking alcohol may not be an early warning sign. It may be a thing that made you vulnerable, but you can put it in there and put it in brackets because it just helps to make the links. And then you're hearing voices, were you? So that led to hearing voices. So have you put hearing voices out here? And do you want to tell me what the voices were saying? You don't have to tell me, but would you like to tell me? They're calling you nasty names and that sort of thing.
It was horrible things.
Horrible things, yeah. So maybe just put in brackets saying horrible things. Because, I mean, some people have voices that say nice things, so. Would you like to look at the cards to help a little bit? I'm wondering if we should start with, I often start with the feelings cards actually, so I'll show you the feelings cards and see if there's anything in there that you can relate to with you know, those things going on. And you notice the colours of the cards, so there's feelings, body sensations, doing and thinking, the same colours.
It's feeling guilty.
Feeling guilty. Do you know what that was linked to? Feeling guilty? Do you think? No?
Feeling low.
Yeah. Okay, well done. Those are hard things to feel. So anything in the body sensations that you can remember? Not feeling like eating?
Not feeling like eating.
So that was a thing that was happening before.
I don't know if my movement seems slow or not.
You mentioned just not sleeping and not feeling like sleeping. Was that because you were feeling sort of restless and had a lot of energy, or was it because you were feeling anxious and
I was feeling horrible.
feeling horrible, just in a general way? Yeah. So it wasn't a sort of excited feeling. It was
No.
it was more of a fearful, anxious feeling. Yeah.
I don't know really.
So it's a bit hard to recall those
Yeah.
feelings. Yes,
Yeah.
and it often is quite hard to even notice sometimes those anxious the feelings, those anxious sort of feelings. So you know you weren't feeling like eating. Yeah. How are you doing as we talk about? Yes, is it okay? Not bringing back feelings of upset. No. Okay. What about the thoughts and feeling? The thoughts. Did you find the voices sort of just, you got caught up with the voices and thinking about what the voices were saying?
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Preoccupied.
Yeah. So you
So it's
spent
preoccupied with voices.
with voices, yeah. So you were sort of spending a lot of time listening to the voices, and, yeah. So that becomes a vicious cycle here.
I don't really like thinking about these.
No, that's right.